Hi guys, I'm Matt Castle from the Final Family Podcast. I'm joined this week by Graeme Fortlage and Tanya Keyser. We're going to talk about Extra Life United, which we just got back from about a week ago. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
So, did everybody enjoy lovely Florida?
Oh, it was a good break from the snow.
Snow.
I loved Florida up until about Thursday night, Friday, when it started trying to kill me because it obviously was thinking, you do not belong here.
There's so
Luckily,
much
that was
humidity.
at the tail end of Extra Life United. By then, I think everybody who talked to me on Friday was like, she probably should not be out in public. She's pretty sick. We're almost 2 weeks later, and I'm still recovering. It really was just allergies. Our rental car was covered in like a yellow film. Even the interior had a yellow film.
Yeah.
So I know some people went home with confirmed flu and confirmed stomach bug, so I count myself lucky. But normally I sound like a 12-year-old girl, so I'm going to take it.
We went home with the stomach bug, both me and my son, which has been a joy. His poor bottom. And that's why I extra life, because of diaper rash.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, it was completely the opposite. I left snow because apparently I'm allergic to everything back home. Go down to Florida, allergic to nothing. The door opens to the plane back home.
Yeah.
Stuffed up instantly.
Awesome.
Allergies are back.
There's like a wild difference between what grows out here in Texas than what grows like everywhere else seemingly. Like everywhere else it's like so many things, it's just allergy season. Here it's like mountain cedar season, and we have specific stuff.
To put that in perspective, I live in San Antonio like Matt. And right now, our redbud trees are blooming. Our mountain laurel trees are blooming. We've got like our poplar trees with white buds are blooming.
Yeah.
The mesquite trees are blooming. None of that stuff bothers me. Not at all. Like I get hit by cedar in, December through February. But I went to Florida. I was like, God, everything's so beautiful here. And then by Wednesday night, I started to feel it. And by Thursday night, I was like, I sound like I've been smoking for 50 years. And by Friday, I had no voice.
Yeah.
And Saturday, walking to the plane, I was like, "You need to take my carry-on." I was like, I feel like I can't breathe. Literally cannot breathe.
I got pretty lucky in that I was prepared for all the humidity and a lot of those allergy things just based on I've lived in southern Mississippi for like 12 years, through most of high school and all that kind of stuff, and so all of that specific allergy frame has not been a deal for me, thankfully.
The first Extra Life United was in November 2014, so none of it bothered me then. What a difference 3 months makes. And I was actually born in Florida, but I left before I was a year old, so I feel like this is Florida's way of continuing to say, you still don't belong here. They're like, you rejected us and we're forever going to reject you. But I love the trip. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And just to put things in perspective, like we all know what these kids go through is nothing compared to it. I was kind of disappointed that people caught the flu. I mean, it's kind of the con crud, right? You go to PAX, you go to San Diego Comic Con, you go to Alamo City Comic Con, Wizard Con, Emerald City, any of those, and like that's one of those things that you have to worry about. I felt a little bad that I didn't put a little bit more thought into that because I was so excited for the trip. But it's getting better now. I'm still a little hoarse. Like I said, normally sound like a 12-year-old. But I was just kind of happy to come home and be able to sleep for a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, for me, it was definitely a good change because moving down from Canada, we were hoping all the snow was going to be gone by the time we got home. And then we got home to another 5 feet of snow on top of what was there when we left.
Welcome home.
Yeah, I know. It's weather welcoming us home. It was raining while we're down there. Now it's snowing back home. But yeah, no, it's primarily with the snow. It was starting to melt when I left, and then we came back and kind of got all buried again. But it's mainly the snow mold underneath from being underneath snow for 6 months of a year.
Yeah.
But I know myself, I completely enjoyed the warmer weather. It was a nice escape.
I think that's one of the things, like, I wasn't even worried about like the weather per se, but like I'm not gonna lie, like I've been in a shitty mood for like the last like 4 months probably, like since Extra Life Game Day. Like it's just been thing after thing after thing, man. And I was not prepared for the like life affirmingly positive experience that was Extra Life United. Like it was just unbelievable. The amount of like
joy.
Yeah. Like
Joy,
there's no better
happiness,
way to put
all
it.
that.
Like it's just a crazy amount of happiness and positivity in spite of fucking terribleness.
Yeah.
And it was oh man.
And that's the thing that I was really trying to like tell as many people as possible, having been lucky enough to go to the first one, which I think initially they only opened it up to like 75 people or so.
Yeah.
And I think of that like small, maybe 100 at the most, but you know, there was about 60 of us that actually went. And in 2014, I had been planning a pretty large game day event. You know, that was my second year, and I was really kind of like, wow, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of late nights because it's my second job essentially leading up to game day. Then you've got, the emotional and physical toll of being awake for 36 hours is what it amounts to when you're running an event. And I was really to the point where I was like, do I want to do this the next year? Do I want to take this on? And I was offered the chance to go to Extra Life United, the first one. And my initial response was, this is on PlayStation, and I want somebody to go who's going to win money for my hospital. Because I'm not a video game player. And, the response I got was like, no, we really, really want you to go. And I was like, I really want somebody to go who's going to win money for the hospital. But I went, and I came back just kind of floored and really thought, like, how can I turn away from this? If it's just a couple of late nights and, it's some time away, like really, like, this is one small thing that I can do and look what it does. So when I heard that they were moving Momentum from November to February, I knew 2015 would sort of be a transition year. So they did have like a Momentum sort of in 2015. And I think it was like late summer, the initial group of us kind of got the insider word like FYI, something's coming up. And I was like, boom, on the work calendar, time off. And when it really came down, I thought, okay, can we do this? And then Matt and me, both of our hospital sponsored the both of us along with a third person. So I was kind of floored the hospital did that. And then when they did that, I thought, well, you know what? I was already going to spend the money to go back. So I'm going to take my family. I asked my fiance, Jay, who is not here tonight, but he's the big money winner. And that's why I keep him around. But because he won money for the hospital.
He's the ringer at Catan.
Well,
learned the game and fucking won it.
And rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Did he win rock, paper, scissors too?
He got what, like second or third, didn't he? Yeah.
He got second, so he won $250, which I will say he had them put that in my account.
Oh.
I was like, oh, honey, thank you so much. So I actually have money in my account now.
Now you're gonna get a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You got the T-shirt for next year.
Yeah. So, and then I also, I really thought, I said, okay, well, the hospital paid for me. I was going to pay for it. I'll take Jay. And then I found out they were taking Matt. And I thought, well, okay, the hospital's taking another person. I'm going to counter that. And I'm going to take my son because he's an awesome video game player. And I'll put him in it. And he won.
He did really well, too. He did like $500 or $600.
500. Yeah, 525 or 550. I can't remember. And then my son's 21. So, or he's going to be 21 next week. So we brought his girlfriend along kind of as a spectator. And I really thought, if we can make this work, like they see how much time I put into it and they've kind of all gotten to participate in it.
Yeah.
But I really thought, there's no other way unless you're there. Like you really cannot gauge the impact that it has on a personal level. So that was kind of my sneaky way of letting him know, like, we're going to do this. And maybe this is my way of apologizing for all the late nights and all the time away and, the craziness and, the short tempers as it gets closer to game day. But it really is, like, in those short few days, you don't realize until the end of it, you're kind of, like, emotionally done. Like, you're on this high, but you're also like, you have nothing else. But I'm hoping that it'll just kind of take me through the rest of the year is really, so I love the fact they moved it to February, because I think the people who get to go, and then all the media, all the videos, all the tweets, other people see it. I feel like it's going to give you momentum for the year, you know, which is funny. Years ago, I think the hospital conference was called Celebration, and it was only 2 years ago that they changed it to Momentum, and it's, you know, brilliant marketing person, because that's exactly what it does.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit.
So, okay.
Really
Graham,
for me is
something you might know about Tanya is that when she keeps talking about how she was planning for game day, right? When she actually plans the entire game day for Rackspace, which is like a very, very large company, okay? Like, she plans a 150-person LAN party. She provides food, T-shirts. She organizes meetings once a month with people both inside and outside the company. Like, I don't know if I say it enough, but like, holy shit, thank you, Tanya, for all the shit you do all the time, because you're fucking awesome. Like, yeah.
So you're the guild leader for the unlaunched Extra Life Rackspace Guild?
No, it's fully launched. What are you talking about?
Far away and say we're just a team of people who compete. So I mean, it's, you know, and Extra Life, I mean, we all know the story. It's been around since 2008. Racker gamers, which is, you know, the Rackspace employees, they call them Rackers, who happen to be gamers, really kind of got involved early on. So they started in 2009. And it was just, you know, a small group of people, you know, 20, 30 people in a conference room, and it grew each year. And really, I got involved in 2013, and I mean, I've been, you know, really honest. I said, I heard about this thing called Extra Life, and, you know, I had been at Rackspace about a year, and I thought, you know, I want to like start meeting other people outside of sales, outside of this. And this seems kind of cool. It's a charity event. It's video game players. My son likes video games, and we're all always butting heads. So I just went to a meeting, and they were talking about this group, what had happened in 2012, you know, as Extra Life on their game day, as they streamed to other people. They streamed to, you know, Racker Gamers. And they said, wow, we love your setup. We're going to come to you guys next year. And Racker Gamers said, come, we have an event center. Like, we'd love to have you. So it moved from this really, you know, at that point, I think it was maybe 60, 70 people to the actual event center. And that first year in 2013, we did have Extra Life on site at Rackspace headquarters with Racker Gamers, and we had about 250 people. You know, the majority of them, you know, 150 to 200 were digital, we call it digital, video game console, PC, and then 50 to 100, you know, at the peak were tabletop players. And we have arcade games, and we've got, you know, X-Wing, we've got everything going on there. So it was a great event. And, you know, of course, I just kind of showed up very close to that. And I said, you know, I want to know more about this. This sounds really cool. You know, it kind of started in Texas. It was a homegrown event. Now it's this big thing. And I realized that I could probably offer my time and my talent, which is cat herding. I'm really good at organizing people who maybe are not hard, you know, easy to organize. So I've done that since, you know,
specifically Dale.
Yes. You know, Dale, Art, I mean, we'll tag them in the video when it's uploaded. You know, they're all great people, and they're awesome, and they're really enthusiastic, but they tend to go squirrel, you know, and I just kind of bring them back in a little bit, and make sure we're doing the things we need to do. So that's how I got involved. I mean, it was really just trying to like meet other people. And then that first year, my son participated, and I donated to him, and I donated to his two best friends who came along with him. I kicked him out about 2 a.m. I was looking for him, and they were like, oh, he's asleep in the hallway. And he literally was asleep in the hallway. So I said, okay, I'm going to drive you home. They went home. And
I think this is a standard thing with Extra Life, because this year for the marathon, after being up for like 48 hours prior, make sure everything was in place, I napped underneath a table in the corner of the room at the hospital, up against the radiator on a concrete floor for 6 hours while everyone else kept gaming. But
I'm sure if we checked with like every person who's done some sort of game day event, there's a story where they're like, I don't know what happened, man. I just fell asleep on Einstein, and he was so warm and fuzzy, and he just kept me going. And
don't worry. One of the other years that I did a marathon event, it was 2 years ago. So when I actually started getting into creating the events, I had an event at the place where I worked, got about 20 video gamers, console and PC, to come in and participate, do all the fundraising. And then suddenly, somehow, we had 180 board game players show up out of nowhere.
That can happen.
And literally had to work with the building to find extra space. But for that one, I literally passed out on the couch while playing NHL. People watched me sleep for 2 hours. One of my people who was there pulled me off the couch, threw me on the floor in the corner, and just picked up the controller and kept going. So it's and for me, I got started in 2011 with Extra Life. I actually have a hospital story of my own. I ended up in grade 11 in 2011. I'm being diagnosed with an odontogenic keratocyst in my right jaw that took up 97% of the bone mass in my jaw. So the bone was less than paper thin. And it was found completely by accident after I'd come back from a trip to Japan with school. So it could have broken any time while I was away. Ended up going for surgery less than a week and a half, because at the point we didn't know whether it was benign or not. Luckily it ended up being benign, and then after a 14.5-hour jaw surgery, they ended up wiring my jaw shut, and I stayed in the hospital for 2.5 weeks, I think it was, and then had to keep going back to the hospital for, I think it was another 12 weeks with my jaw wired shut, so all I could consume were liquids. But it was that year I started off just participating on my own, raised like $50, I think. So not a lot, and then grew it little bit by little bit from there until 2 years ago with the event where I got thrown off the couch. And then we got our guild last year, and that's really where that's about 70% of my life now is guild. 30% is everything else crammed into a small little package.
I definitely know that pain.
It's that last year was more of establishing ourselves and having people figure out that, hey, Extra Life, we're not a scam.
Yeah. We still have a lot of that.
It seems like as I was telling people at ELU, we've got things now going this year, like we're being drawn in and helping host a 490-person LAN event during the biggest convention of the year. We've got panels at both of our big conventions this year. We found once you break through that we're not a scam layer, that's the official name, the We're Not a Scam layer. Yeah. Basically, the community opens up wide and is willing to do whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
To help out. So.
Yeah, we've only been able to penetrate with our local radio station. One of our guild officers is actually related to Texas Public Radio. I guess reporter. I guess he's a reporter. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, a radio personality. But getting on television here is nigh impossible, it seems like, unless you really know somebody. We've been in the paper a couple times. I think we actually got put on Time Warner Cable, their little news program. But yeah, this year we actually made some really cool connections with what I think actually is the only local game developer who's making a super duper Pong game called Rage Ball, which it's coming out 2016.
And I think they even, and I think this is all public information because I've seen press releases on it. It's supposed to be picked up by Nintendo this fall. Yeah, it is. Which is their big hook, right? It's not just a local game developer in San Antonio, but they already have an agreement with a major game developer, Nintendo, which is really exciting. Yeah. Both for San Antonio and for the game industry. So for those who aren't familiar with South Texas and specifically San Antonio, it's easily explained by two catchphrases. In Austin, our, smaller but hipper city to the north, their catchphrase is keep Austin weird. And in San Antonio, our catchphrase is keep San Antonio lame. So I will say right off the bat that I love San Antonio. I love that it's a little sleepy town. I love that I can find a taco place on any part of town, even in the suburbs
Damn
where
right.
I'm at now.
And they're all pretty good.
We have an excellent cost of living. I will tell you this right now. And I know a lot of people who have moved here, despite what I said about Cedar Fever. So, and I can also go to Austin. And the awesome part, as much as I love Austin, is I get to leave Austin and not deal with this traffic every day.
Yeah, right.
So, while you have, the whole we're a scam thing, a lot of times in San Antonio, the biggest challenge we have is just apathy. People, it takes a lot to get people excited in San Antonio.
You could almost say lethargy.
Yes.
For us, luckily,
we like our tacos, and we like to sit and eat our tacos.
And then we like to sleep.
For us up in Winnipeg, it's I kind of lucked out, and we're kind of lucking out quite a bit as, I think for the past 19 years, Winnipeg's been the most charitable city in Canada.
Wow.
So, and luckily for us, anytime you mention the name of our hospital, Children's Hospital Foundation Manitoba, shameless name drop, there's overwhelming support in the community. The first 2 years ago when I did that thing, the first marathon event, I ended up letting and just sending releases or telling people, hey, this is what's going on, to all the news stations and newspapers, all that stuff in the area. And since we decided to do 56-hour marathon, which was a mistake, don't ever do a 56-hour marathon, all the news cameras and everything decided to come around hour 42, hour 41. And then the most prevalent news group in the whole entire city and all of Canada ended up showing, the CBC, your Canadian broadcast, ended up showing up at hour 52 to do an interview with me. But so we've done that. I've gotten on the news a couple times, local mainly. But now at the Radiothon this past year with our Christmas for Kids Radiothon, I ended up, for the first time ever, with a radio partner doing anything live. Both of the radio stations that were there for it allowed me on live to talk about Extra Life, and we talked about it for 6 to 8 minutes on each radio station. And now we're working with both of those stations, and they want to get on board as official sponsor stations of us here. So I kind of lucked out in the fact that we're not lethargic, but at the end we're more I guess the most giving city in Canada. But at the same time, it's that I guess Canadians are more superstitious of scams than Americans are, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I think one of our problems, we tend to be a very, what I would call a blue collar town, right? So there's lots
Same
of
as Winnipeg,
and so on top of the blue collar, we have just a bazillion military, and so
Same here.
they don't have a lot of time, and that seems to be the rub, putting together 24 hours all at the same time feels impossible. And so a lot of our sale ends up being you really don't have to do it all at once, it'll be okay if you split it up.
For me, the way I pitch it to people is that with Extra Life, you have 24 hours of gaming to complete between January 1st and December 31st of every year. It puts it in a lot more manageable of an aspect if they realize, okay, we only need 24 hours of your time, and you've got 365 days in a year.
Right.
Pick part of every day and do something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But back to Extra Life United, I also was sent by our hospital here, because I was, I know, we're kind of going on to Extra Life and just chatting about it. With Extra Life
I was trying to I was waiting for the break, and I was I'm going to bring it back up. We're going to do this thing.
Tangent and bring it back in.
Dude, I'm the king of transitions. There we go. Claiming the title now. But I was sent down by our hospital as well, because I sort of got, as Tanya was saying, I got burnt out at the end of this past year with getting the guild up off the ground, basically spending because I was still finishing up schooling during last year, so I think it was about 16 hours of every single day was Extra Life dedicated. 4 hours was catching up on whatever I didn't pay attention to in school, and then the other 4 hours was for sleeping and eating. But yeah, no, they sent me down, and at first I kept getting knocked out of game after game after game, which started to get really down. But looking on it back on it now, started like, why were you upset? You're at Extra Life United.
Yeah,
are you crazy?
I honestly didn't really know that there was like I kind of knew there was a money factor, but I wasn't really sure of how all it worked still. Like, even talking to Tanya, like, I was just not fully prepared, and I was like the entire idea of the champions thing like completely blew my mind. Like, it was such like, one of the things I keep telling my wife, it was like we were in Bizarro World where famous people were not famous anymore and little sick kids were instead. And it's like amazing. Like, Miss America, I saw her walking literally like right after the last day, the main event. I saw her walking down the hallway, and like I saw 5 people walk right past her to one of the kids in a red shirt. Like, those kids walking down that hall, man, they're like superstars. And
same thing with the guys from Rooster Teeth.
So good, yeah.
Like, Jack Patillo was a nobody other than me fanboying over him the whole entire time.
Well, like,
and figuring out what a champion children were fans of Rooster Teeth, and then bring him, hey, look who's here! It's Jack Patillo.
Yeah, like, I was like,
you guys say that, and I have no idea who any of these people are.
So okay. Okay,
so for me, I'm like, that guy's name is Bacon. That's awesome. Hey, I want bacon right now.
Yeah, Bacon Donut.
But
oh yeah, he makes amazing Minecraft mods, Tanya. Like, we got to make this shit happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should be better at it. You know, when I started with Extra Life, it was really like, hey, I want to branch out. I want to meet more people. And then my son was in it, and I thought the next year, like, wow, this is really amazing. I want to fundraise. So in 2014, I created my first page, and, you know, got my own T-shirt and my own medal, and I was super happy. And, you know, my son still participated, and then I got Jay into it, and then I got my stepson into it. And of course, I went to ELU, which came at a great time in 2014 when I was burnt out. And it's kind of what you said, like, as much as I could try and explain it, like, these kids are treated like rock stars, and they get to meet Miss America, and they get to meet Nick Cannon, and, you know, they get flown in on their own Delta flight, and they have one-on-ones with Disney characters. And
Canadian promotion.
Yeah. You can say all those things, and then you see it in person.
Yeah,
it still doesn't sink in. Like, this is real, and we can have a part in this. It's just, it's surreal. It really, really is. It really is surreal.
I think for me, the main thing that still hasn't sunk in yet for me is the fact that during the pin exchange there, where we actually got to go and meet all the champion children, which is something that personally, from running the guild and everything here, and for Extra Life itself, you don't really get that one-on-one experience to get to meet the kids, whether they're from your hospital or not, but get to meet some of these kids that are benefiting from all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, all the effort we put in all year round that we think is hard. And then you look at what they've gone through, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But on top of that as well, it's while we're going around for the pin exchange, some of the parents, well, I'm guessing 90% of them that weren't busy dealing with like people swarming the tables, were taking the time to thank every single Extra Lifer that was in line behind us for what we do. And it was like, this feels completely unsolicited. Like, we're doing nothing, and I don't feel like I deserve your...
Yeah, like, I literally would be doing this anyway.
We're not worthy.
Basically, we're not worthy. And then as it was leading up to it, the thing that really blew my mind and kind of just cracked open the emotional shell on the final day is before the medal ceremony, the champion from British Columbia came up to me, wanted a picture with me. Took a picture, wanted to exchange all contact information, gaming and social media wise, and then before he walked away, told me that for participating in Extra Life and running the guild, I'm his hero. I just fucking broke down in tears after that.
I don't think I could take that shit.
No, it was crazy. It's just. And then everything compounded on top of it as well, like having the chance to meet Victoria's parents.
Yeah.
And how that for everyone who attended, everyone at Extra Life United, they made a point to learn everyone's names. And add us on social media. Make sure that we stay in touch.
Yeah.
And
Like, I was really surprised. I got a friend request from Tori's mom. Like,
yeah, from Joellen.
Yeah. I was like, what is it? And I like went to verify, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the little verified check to come up next to your name. Is this the real Joellen?
I was like,
Yeah,
well,
and that's one thing that I try to, like, my son's, I'm pretty lucky. I've got a great kid. You know, like I said, he's going to be 21 next week. No, I did not have him when I was 12. I had him when I was 17. But he's the typical 20-something-year-old, you know, where he's like, yeah, whatever. I talked to this person on social media. They gave us free Universal tickets. Awesome. Whereas I'm freaking out because somebody just gave us something worth $600. But he's had the, you know, to be able to meet like Jeremy, Doc Adams, you know, who founded Extra Life, and he's met people from the hospital. But even seeing him, like, I kind of lost it when I looked back at one point on Thursday night and he was playing Just Dance with some hospital kids. That was my moment where I was like, you guys, this is just my allergies really getting to me. I don't know what this is.
Okay. Let's talk about. We're harping on parents here. Let's talk about Trish and Sean. Like that first night, the video.
Oh my God,
like Tanya and I were texting back and forth. We were like, so many onions. Where are all the onions being cut? And like I'm sitting there,
crying, you're crying.
like unashamedly bawling my eyes out, sitting around like 8 men, like all bigger than me.
It was still super emotional because actually getting to see the video and everything put into video format for their story was just so much. But I had the pleasure of getting introduced to them over social media earlier on in the year and getting to hear about Dominic's story before even going down to Extra Life United. As one of the first people I ended up meeting up with when down there messaging was Sean and Trish.
Yeah.
And going to meet them like, hey, we're setting up in the room. Come say hi. I'm like, okay, coming. And
just like such amazingly positive people. And like, it's unbelievable. Like how do you, I don't know how.
And the fact that they managed to pull off and come back to Disney World.
Yeah.
Where like 6 months ago they lost Dominic. It's just crazy that they had that much, like when they were there, they had so much positivity, happiness. It's it's almost too much to put into words, but they're like so hopeful. That's a good one.
Exactly. Like that's
they're super hopeful for the future of Extra Life, what it will mean, and what sharing Dominic's story will do for the Extra Life community in terms of getting more people on board.
Exactly.
Sort of reinvigorating, as we said before, for Tanya and myself, if people get burnt out running events or burnt out fundraising or burnt out whatever with Extra Life, it's just another one of those things that allows us to look back and realize, okay, this is what we really do this for.
Right.
I can suffer a little bit longer, and what I'm dealing with ain't so bad.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I mean, you know, to think about that, like I had happened to wonder, you know, from starting Extra Life in 2013, and there's so many gamers out there who've been doing this longer, like just from 2013, you know, 2013, 2014, 2015, you know, every single game day we started off with Tori's story, and I've seen Tori's parents, you know, at ELU, and I've seen them on video, you know, every year.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, they go through this every single year. And what kind of, I consider myself a pretty strong person, but I don't know if I lost a child, if I could do that every year, even if I was thinking,
I don't think so, man. Like,
I'm going to do this because so many other people can benefit. So the fact that this year we were introduced to yet another group of parents who lost a child really young and are willing to put themselves out there because they know that there's a higher purpose. To start Extra Life United off like that, I thought, oh man, you guys are just gonna, like, here, just take all my money, just
basically.
What you want me to do, you know. But I was floored, and then to see Sean and Trisha Rooney come out and play with us.
Yeah.
I saw their story on screen, and I don't think I really realized until the competition started the next morning when I sat down in front of Trish, like, whoa, wait, yes, they were here, they showed their story, they came out, but they're here with us.
Yeah,
That's what kind of floored me. And, you know, to know that it was just 6 months, I kind of felt like maybe that was, you know, a little bit of passing the torch on from the Edmonds to the Rooneys. You know, it's just, and I don't mean to say that the Edmonds are going to step away, but it was, really, really strong to me that both those sets of parents were up there. And, you know, I tweeted about this a few days ago when it was the exact 6 months for the Rooneys that, you know, these are two of the strongest and most bravest people I know, because I feel like we've all said, you know, I'm doing my small part, but these parents are putting it all out there. And I just don't know if I'm that strong of a person. So it floors me to be around people like that. And like you said, you know, the champions' parents, when we went up, you know, I was really kind of wearing down by Thursday night. I could feel that I was starting to get sick, and I thought, you know, I really, really want to see the kids, but I don't know if I'm getting sick or if it's just allergies. So let's go see the Texas champion, and then maybe we'll just kind of hang back a little bit, because I was a little bit worried that I was actually like had the cold or flu or something. So we kind of went early on. We kind of scoped out the Texas table, and we walked up pretty early, and we met our hospital reps there. And what floored me is that her mom was there, and her mom, and the Texas champion is Dayance. Her mom was so bright and energetic, and when I leaned in and I introduced myself, she reacted with such a shock, because I'm going to try and show my badge here. On the back of all of our ELU badges, so this is my ELU badge, we had our Texas champion, and she saw her daughter there, and she thought, what is this? Wait a minute, what is this? Why is my daughter on there? And I said, she's my champion. You know, I'm raising funds for Children's Hospital of San Antonio, which Dion's happened to be treated there, along with the hospital in Houston. And she stood up and gave me a hug, and I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna bawl all over this woman. So, you know, to be surrounded by these parents and the champions, it was just kind of, I mean, I can't stress it enough. I feel like I'm rambling, but if you ever have the chance to participate in a game day, or go to a guild meeting at your hospital, or go to a game day visit at your hospital, you know, go ahead and do it.
Or radiothon or whatever.
Yeah, the radiothon,
or get a chance to meet your champion
child. You know, any of it, because it's a little bit of your time, but what it means to those kids and those parents, it's really, really surprising to me that they're continuing to be surprised that people are willing to do this for them. When I kind of think, like, why wouldn't we? You know, as much as I get kind of beaten down by the time crunch and just, you know, the day-to-day and stuff like that, you know, it's these events where I'm like, yeah, I think I can spend a few minutes on my page and spend a few minutes sending some tweets out, which I've been pimping out our Twitter, and do this little bit. But that whole thing with, you know, of course, seeing Tori's parents, and then seeing Dominic's parents, and then my interaction with my, you know, state champion, it just, all of it together was just, it just blows your mind, you know. And we were lucky enough to bring home some money for our hospital. So our hospital, Children's Hospital of San Antonio, we actually had 5 of us competing. In tabletop and PC and in console, and we brought home, I think, just over $4,000.
No, 5.
And I felt so bad about that, but our hospital reps were thrilled.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And I feel like if people would just put in a little bit of time helping out their hospital in whatever way they can, whether it's you know, going and helping them with a radiothon or dance marathon, like the return to you is just, you can't put a price tag on it. And I know that sounds cliche. I'm using like the MasterCard, like priceless. But it really is. I mean, it's just amazing what you get back from these people that you think have been through so much already. Like, it really just kind of floors me.
And for us here, we had 2 people go down from our hospital. We ended up getting knocked out quite early. I was 1 win away from a money round in Just Dance with a sprained ankle, which was surprising, but whatever, it worked out. But at the same time, even though we didn't win any money, our hospital reps were still utterly thrilled that we made the trip down, and that we got out of the trip what we want, that they wanted us to get out of it, was that Because I think the one thing that all extra lifers really want is to meet some of the kids that we're doing this for, so that it puts a face and a name to what you're actually doing. And then when you think back on it, when you're in your down points or whatever, you could be like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this for Dionk, or I'm doing this for Laura, our champion child. But yeah, no, it's like for me, I had already met Laura and her family before. But at the same time, for us, like, we found out that while they were on their parade, she ended up seeing her favorite Disney character, Marie from the Aristocats. But since they were on the parade float, they couldn't stop, take a picture, or get an autograph at all. So she was, like, super down and upset about that. Didn't really even want to go for the champion parade or the pin exchange. So what I ended up doing was running, basically sprinting, because it was like 5 minutes before the start of the Champions Parade, to the gift shop at the hotel. And I found they had one Marie pin hidden at the back on a rack on the pin. So I was able to get her that pin, and I gave it to her during the pin exchange, and her face just lit up. And, like, she jumped out of her chair, ran over, and gave me a huge hug, which, if you check out the Facebook page, that's literally my profile pic now, or my backflash. I can't remember when I said it. But it's her literally running up, throwing her arms around me, and giving me the biggest hug I've ever gotten from anybody ever. But, yeah, no, it was basically... As I said, we didn't win any money, but it was the experience of being there and knowing that, okay, we're not alone in this. And particularly for me, being a guild president, knowing that I'm not the only crazy person out there who spends 75, 85% of their life on Extra Life and 15% on the rest of it. As I tell people whenever they're asking, well, how do you do Extra Life during the year? I'm like, well, it starts on January 1st and December 31st. I've got a microsecond of a break in between, and then I start all over again.
Yeah. And I think, what you were saying is, I think our hospital reps are really just kind of looking like more than, money is kind of icing on the cake to the whole, like, come have the experience and come learn about what you're doing and then go back and be able to have, like, that much more energy to make it infectious to the people around you. And, like, yeah, that's definitely what happened for me, like, for sure.
Yeah. It really, I mean, not everybody can do nonprofit work. And I think everybody knows, nowadays, there's no way around it. You need money to make things happen, whether that's caring for your kids or having an organization like Extra Life or, running a hospital foundation like any of our hospitals do. But that's the day-to-day stuff, and I think you need those reminders about why you're doing that work and why you're there and why you always have to focus on fundraising. And for me, I mean, it's just finding out about Extra Life in kind of a circuitous route, and then it's made me more of a gamer, and I'm definitely a tabletop player. So I was super excited to see that there was a tabletop track this year.
Yeah.
But I think it has, reinvigorated me again. I mean, I felt a little bit last year like things were kind of in a state of flux. They were switching momentum from the fall to the spring, and we had a gap, and just as things go on. And for me personally, 2015 was just an up and down year. The whole second half of the year was just kind of crazy. My dad ended up going through radiation therapy. He's now considered in remission. He had early stage cancer of the throat. He's been a long time smoker, and I've really just kind of started out 2015 by saying something's going on and something's not right, and I drove him to every appointment, and then he finally got his diagnosis, and then he finally started treatment. And I was lucky enough to have a job where I could be flexible, so I went to work early in the morning and then left and took him to treatment, and then went to work in the afternoon and worked through the evening. And this was my parent, and he had a pretty mild to moderate treatment plan, but it still took a lot out of him. And he's always been a very slight person. I wish I got that gene, but I didn't. So for those 3-4 months that we were going through it, that's what my world revolved around. And his treatment ended in, mid to end of September. And then in October, we were getting ready to plan Extra Life. And I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I just need something simple right now. I'm going to be able to wake up and go to work, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I sat down one day and I started to kind of get prepped for Extra Life game day. And I started getting all my media from, our local hospital and the kids' stories and, the 30-second spot and the 1-minute spot and then the full 2 to 3 minutes. And I was watching these videos and I thought, I just went through this with my dad, and he had a great outlook. He was considered stage 2 because he had a more aggressive kind of carcinoma on his throat and the location of it, but they weren't expecting to do a tracheotomy. They were just going to do radiation. They weren't going to do chemo. And they thought that he had a really, really good outlook. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, as emotional as I was at the beginning, which I was, and then I kind of just get down to business mode like I do, and Matt knows this.
Yeah.
And it was just get you to your treatment. You're not going to run away. Don't think that you're going to do this, just like I do with anybody else, because my dad's no different. He gets impatient and he doesn't want to wait and he wants to take off. So that's why I drove him every single day to every single appointment, and we're doing the same thing tomorrow. He's got a follow-up appointment with his dentist to kind of see what we can do about his teeth now that he's done with radiation. And I'm watching these parents' videos and these kids' videos, and I thought, this was my dad. And it was, as cancer goes, easy treatment plan, good outlook, and it still took a lot out of him, and it definitely took a lot out of me. And it had an effect on my job for sure, but everybody was pretty supportive, and it had an effect on our, home relationship. But, we're past that, and now he's into kind of survivor plan and maintenance mode. And I just sat there one night and I thought, this was my dad and this wasn't my kid. Like, these parents are going through it, and then they want to tell their story, and then they want to go out and let other people know what they can do to help other kids. Like, why am I complaining? Like, I can't imagine what these parents go through. And when we got my dad's official diagnosis, I was handed a binder, like, and be still my little heart, I did have a moment. It was a binder that had all these little tabbed folders with all these little labels on them and all this customized info. And I thought, wow, they really know how to talk to me. But in my head, I thought, these parents are handed this. Like, here is your whole life in this binder with these tabs and these dividers and these treatment plans. And I kind of had, like, I had my little pity party moment, and then I had my, like, kick in the butt moment where I thought, what the hell are you doing? Why are you complaining about any of this? Like, you have the talent and you have the time to commit to this. Like, you need to get up and do it. So even though 2015 was a weird year for me, I got super excited when they announced Extra Life United. And when we ran the numbers and we thought, hey, we travel for our jobs and we have enough Marriott points where we don't have to pay for a hotel. And we have enough Southwest points where we really don't have to pay for flights. And the hotel that we're staying at, because we specifically picked it because it feeds us in the morning, like, we can make this work for the four of us.
That's why I picked.
And then when I found out Matt was going, and Matt was like, hey, I found a room to share and we're gonna drive, and all of us found a way to make it work to be there. I was really, really excited. It just, all these little things, I keep finding ways to make myself commit to Extra Life, and I keep hoping that I'm going to do that and that I can encourage other people to do the same thing. But I mean, these parents just blow me away. So I'm trying to be better about it this year, having come off of Extra Life United, just a few days ago, really, and already having money for our hospital, knowing that they're so excited. I'm very aware that I have to put limits on myself. And I think we all know that, right? Like you said, you commit what percentage of your time. We've got to be crazy. And Matt has a family and I have a family, and we all have jobs, or we all have school. So I know in the case of the guild, I can't be a guild leader, but I can tell the guild, hey, you guys need buttons? I have the button machine because I have my own small business. I can make those for you. So I try to do the things that I can, and then my time and my planning, but I want to do it to another level. So I hope I can encourage more people to do the same thing. And just I'm just going to beat them down. Like, watch this video. You don't understand. You need to see this.
That's more than my plan this year, is to hit people with the emotional level of everything and tie that in. So
I said the Dominic video, like, once they put it out on YouTube, I sent it to several guys that I work with that did Extra Life and came to Rackspace with us this year. Mm-hmm. And like, apparently they watched just before they had meetings, like in-person meetings in the building. Like,
Oh, don't worry, don't worry.
They were like,
My guild doesn't know it yet, but as of this Wednesday, everyone who wasn't at Extra Life United gets to see Dominic's story for the first time.
Oh my
I didn't even
God.
share it with them. I didn't prep them with it. They're going to be full on tears and crying in the middle of the board game cafe. I don't care.
Yeah. My buddy was like,
see,
I'm crushed, dude. I'm crushed.
And I met his parents. Like, I have a personal connection to them.
Yeah.
So don't think that you can, like, put this in your little mind palace over here in the corner. No.
As it is, I've been talking with Sean and Trish to see if one of them is willing to remote in, which I think we're going to do Google Hangouts now based on how awesome this is.
Yeah.
And get one of them to be there to talk to everyone after hearing Dominic's story and sort of bridge that across, because it's the one thing that I realized last year I wasn't leveraging at all was why do I participate in Extra Life, which was when I saw Tori's story for the first time. That's what hooked me, and still I guess with all of us, every time I see Tori's story I start to tear up. Dominic's story, I'm still full on gushing tears and all that.
Like, I won't watch it again, like not in the next month.
I'm trying to condition myself to where the point where I've got it with Tori's story where I'm not a blubbering mess, because I'm hoping to utilize them and possibly their story and stuff like that for our panels. Because the panels basically cover all of the prairies in where they live. That's part of the prairies too. So it's sort of a tie everything in together, and I can't be a blubbering mess if I'm hosting and being the main talker on a panel. And then just every time the story goes up, just destroyed emotionally.
That's something we need to talk to Apple about, as far as Alamo City Comic. Like, I never thought of a panel. That would be such a fun idea.
And
that's something that we could actually probably propose, because at PAX, so, you know, I mean, people know, like, they have PAX Prime on the West Coast, they have PAX East, PAX East in Boston. Last year in 2015, they had the first PAX South in San Antonio. And then at that first PAX South, we had, you know, Extra Life National came and did a booth, and they sat on a panel. So I went in and I attended a Child's Play panel, because I thought, you know, I've been so involved with Extra Life, I'm curious how Child's Play does it. Like, they've been doing this for this many years, they've been doing it, and I have to say, and these were, you know, Child's Play staff that were out there, and we had Q&A. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, Extra Life has their crap together. Like, we can go in and create a page, you know, you can donate directly to us, it goes to our hospital. Whereas Child's Play, it's much more, you know, of kind of a street team, and they work with hospitals. Like, the hospitals create a wish list on Amazon or, you know, another website. And it's much more, you know, grassroots direct funding. And it's really powerful. But the organization of Extra Life, seeing the two side by side, I thought, wow, you know, I don't know if I could do the Child's Play thing, because a big part of the reason that I can go and talk to people about Extra Life is that it is fully nonprofit. And, you know, there are some people that you can say, hey, this is a tax deduction, and they're like, oh, hey, you know, I need one of those. You know, but it kind of, not to say Child's Play isn't great. Like, I love the fact that they do the cookie brigade where you can bake cookies and sell them. I actually talked to people about that this year for PAX, and just timing wise it didn't work out. But I love the fact that Extra Life has that, you know, fully fleshed out plan to be able to go out and talk to people about what Extra Life is. Like, you were talking earlier, like, we're not a scam, you know, it's official, it's legit.
I think one of the things I like the best.
I don't really think that's a fault of the guys with Child's Play at all. I think it mainly stems from the way Extra Life was built and started from the ground up. And the fact that it's always and forever will be a part of Children's Miracle Network hospitals and Children's Miracle Network Canada. And it's just that little bit extra of connection and tie-ins of everything that really gives Extra Life its professionalism.
Well, like I keep telling Jason this. Jason's our hospital rep. One of the things that I keep telling him is that, you know, my goal is to benefit the hospital. Like, the hospital is my goal, right? Not necessarily the Children's Miracle Network or Extra Life as itself, but the hospital. Like, I want the hospital to do good. I want the hospital to have money. And that's why I like Extra Life. I like Children's Miracle Network, because they allow the hospital, the funds are just basically transferred, right? As opposed to having like a wish list. And so this way the hospital can actually set their own priorities, and they don't have to worry about, oh, well, X person wants to buy us an Xbox or something, but we don't need an Xbox. We need a construction crew. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really like about it. And I keep saying to him, Extra Life for me is an extremely convenient mechanic to benefit our hospital. Like, that's what I like about it. I know the money's going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it so easy. I mean, the fact that I always talk about people like, I don't want to take your money, and I don't have to. Let me pull out my iPhone, and you can just donate right now, and you get your receipt right away. Put that in a folder, say for taxes. But I love that it gives that flexibility. And me personally, like, I totally talked to people last year and this year about PAX, and I was like, hey, this cookie thing is awesome. I can sit there and bake all day long, hand it over to you guys. Like, that's great, but I don't think I could take that on. Extra Life works for me, and I know it's going directly to the hospital, and I like that fact. And I also like the fact that we can have a team, and if somebody else is on the team, like, well, I live in San Antonio now, but I want to, I'm from Houston, and I want to raise funds for them. I can tell them, hey, you know what? We can be on a team together, and you can still raise money for your hospital. Like, that's what's great about it. So I love the fact that it has that, and it kind of like makes it easy for people.
That's another thing I really liked about United overall was that, like, I don't think I've ever experienced. I'm sorry, I talk with my hands a lot, and I don't know that I do it until I'm on a camera.
My hands are everywhere.
One of the things I really liked about Extra Life United was like this instant camaraderie. Like, I don't think I've like I am a person who I don't use the F word very frequently, and I say the F word. I don't say friend frequently. Like, I have to like know you for a while to be my friend, right? Like, yeah. But I walked into that room and I had 200 friends, like, immediately, and I just didn't even know it until like Wednesday morning. And it was just like
Thursday or Friday when you're leaving.
Like, it was just so weird. Like, I don't think I've ever had that like instant camaraderie with people, and like everybody's on the same page. It was like beyond meeting the kids and beyond meeting the parents, like just meeting all the amazing people that do Extra Life at large. Like, it's nuts. Like, it's extremely good. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
For me, it's definitely really getting to meet all the other Extra Lifers, and as you said, have that instantaneous connection that regardless of where people were from, whether it was like us from Winnipeg, all the guys from Puerto Rico, New York, Washington, San Antonio for yourselves, it was an super humbling instant level of camaraderie and friendship that took the tournament from what could easily have been something that would have been really horrible for everyone who lost and could have turned nasty really quickly, to when someone gets knocked out, they accept it, and then we all cheer on everyone else towards the end of it. Like, as it was towards the end, the two people who were in the finals, 10-1, they weren't playing for any of our hospitals, and the majority of people there's hospitals, but we were cheering them both on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I was really, really, really happy to see this year, and I was completely unexpected to me. The first Extra Life United, the closing ceremony is very much the same, right? John Locke came out and he kind of gave his closing session, and Extra Life had a slide up. They had a slide up showing the percentage of growth, and I was like, oh my God, we're up on the screen. All these people are seeing it. And then they went on to the next. Whereas this year, they came on, closing session, and I saw Doc walk on stage, and I thought, wait a minute. All these people who have been with us this whole week and wondering, hey, what's going on over here? Because there was one night, Thursday, when, after the kids' medal ceremony, and I had some Delta people come over. And then I had some Marriott people coming in, and they were like standing on the outside. We had for those who weren't at Extra Life United, we kind of had like a little like roped off section. And they were standing on the outside and they're looking at the, the projector screen, and they're looking at the console setup and the PCs and the game boards. And they were like, what's going on? And I was like, this is Extra Life United. And, it's a competition and we're raising money for our hospitals. I said, but anybody can raise money for Extra Life. And I gave them my spiel. And if you're wondering what that spiel is, you can go to extra-life.org and read the media kit. There's got a 30-second media pitch and a one-page stats.
I dropped my media pitch more than once because I think I was stopped and asked by people actually attending Momentum. I think 4 or 5 people stopped me. Yeah. And they're like, what are you guys doing in there? I see you guys all with these shirts on, these jerseys. Who are you guys? What do you do? And I'm like, well, we're Extra Life. And they're like, as you say, what is Extra Life? And then blah, 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 blah. And it was kind of awesome. It was also awesome to see the fact that we were the rowdiest people at the closing ceremony as well. I don't think anyone cheered louder for anything than the Extra Lifers. I think we completely showed up the University of Florida.
Someone said game, and we all freaked the hell out.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
The word game or video games or tabletop or anything was mentioned, Extra Life was like, yeah!
And that's what, I was going from Thursday night and having, a few of the people wander over after, the Champions Pin ceremony. And I told them, I said, you can come in and play. We're going to play with the kids. Like, it's all open now, Yeah. And going to the closing session on Friday morning, knowing that, that's the one thing that runs on time. It is 9 to 12. And seeing Doc walk out there and talk for those 5 to 10 minutes about Extra Life and how much we've raised and how it has such, a low cost footprint because people do it wherever, which is the great thing about it. You can do it at home. You can get a group together at a game shop, whatever you want to do. And then seeing the winners come on and having them announce, hey, they raised this much money. To me, I thought this whole room of partners and champions' parents and hospital staff now know what Extra Life is. Like, if they didn't before, they just saw what it is, who we are, what the hell's been going on in that corner over there for the last 3 days that's been so noisy and that the kids have gravitated towards. And that was the opening of Momentum. So I was like, we have a captive audience. And now it's just been explained better than it probably ever has at Momentum. And then, of course, they went on to the dance marathon. So that, for me, was a moment where I was really, really happy to see that. And I really hope that, those hospitals out there who maybe didn't know what it was and didn't know what the guild thing is can go and reach out and say, hey, what can we do? We've got dance marathon. We've got the radiothon. What about this? Maybe we just invite some people in for a game day with the kids, or maybe we do something more. I mean, I was beyond thrilled to see that on the main stage. It blew me away.
Yeah, it definitely, I think the best way to put it is that for this year, for Momentum, the way it definitely felt, I don't know how it was last year because I wasn't able to go, but for this year, it really felt that we were the ambassadors for Extra Life. We were the creme de la creme who made our way from wherever we came to Orlando for 4 days. Literally, as the story I've told people, literally U.S. immigration almost didn't let me into the country because of the reason I was going down to Orlando. They're like, what are you going down to Orlando for? I'm like, well,
I'm going to go play video games.
And it's like, no, really, what are you going for? It's like, no, I'm literally going to go play video games and win money for my children's hospital. Like, please step over here. You're being randomly selected for a screening.
So much time here. We already have enough of those.
Basically. It definitely felt like we were ambassadors for Extra Life this year. I think the jerseys also added to that as well. And it wasn't just like the colored shirts that the kids and their parents and reps and all that kind of stuff had. We literally stood out from the crowd every single day with those jerseys, and it made us look like one entity. That the way I'm going to equate it is, it looked like we were all Apple employees at an Apple store. Everyone is uniform. You can approach every single person, and you feel that you're getting the exact same experience with that person as you would get with anybody else in that group.
Yeah, the first year, I know it doesn't show on camera that much, but I'm wearing my first Extra Life United shirt. So we had T-shirts, and they were just blue T-shirts, and then the staff, I think, had, if I remember right, like a red one, and then the finalists had like the Twitch purple one, and we had a lot more Twitch personalities. But I think the jerseys really like took it up that notch, and also our badges. I mean, we knew that we were like officially part of the conference, but we were like a separate, unique group that everybody wants to be part of the Cool Kids Club.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't like to make a lot of like generalizations, but I think for when it comes to Extra Life United specifically, all I kept saying every year was like, if you have, any kind of chance of going, whether that's using points, whether that's, driving and, sharing a room with people, if there's any way that you can get there, and don't think of it as a Disney vacation, because really your time is going to be spent in this one room.
That's kind of what I thought at first, and then it completely morphed as soon as I got there, and I was like, no, I know where I'm spending all my time now.
Yeah.
As it was,
it really does. And that's what I even tried to stress that to my family. I said, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to be there the whole day, like maybe Friday afternoon.
It was the only time I wasn't at the resort. Like Friday afternoon, that was it.
If it's not staying for competition, you get pulled into conversations about the guild, or you get pulled into conversations with your hospital liaisons, or you get pulled in conversations with your champions. I mean, it's just the whole environment there is all about Children's Miracle Network hospitals and your Extra Life. But now you get this added exposure and access to people that you kind of, it builds on itself. You want to take advantage of it. So, I mean, I'm really, really glad that they brought it back again. I hope that this year is successful. When they did the first one, I knew it was kind of like a test and they were trying to see if it would work. I think they saw 60 people extremely fired up, and you guys have both said this, and I've said this. I am such an introvert, and I showed up and I was like, hi, I'm Tanya. I have no idea who you are. Do you want to get in a car with me?
And, let's hug. I don't hug people.
Please be my friend.
And I had, I can actually say about those 60 people, I have, and they're all 60 great people, but there's probably a solid 10 to 15 of them that I would consider extremely good friends. Like, I talk to them. They can come stay at my house. I send them presents. They're just awesome people. And this year, I just added to that group. That in itself blows me away. But I think Extra Life is really seeing, like, this is something that really pulls people together. And it pulls in other CMN partners. And it pulls in the champions. I mean, when I looked around Thursday and I was not feeling great, so I was just kind of hanging out on the periphery like a creeper and just watching everybody. And I would look.
You have there.
Yeah, and I was over in the PC section. There was this young champion who was playing like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Oh, I remember.
And she was sitting there,
killing it though. They did really good.
Yeah.
They sat there for hours, and she kept dismantling like 7-8 bombs in a row, it was amazing. It was amazing seeing that.
What I gotta say is about when we had the free play with the kids, I think for everyone it was like, okay, at the start we're gonna let the kids win, and then we're now gonna start catching up a little bit. I made that mistake with, as probably everyone knows, with James Strong. I've still got the armband on. I haven't taken it off since Extra Life United. That James, is go strong or go home. I played Madden against him. I made the mistake of letting him win at the start, and then he completely destroyed me and held his lead and then pulled it farther and farther ahead. And then after that, I was like, okay, maybe Madden's not the game for me to play against the kids. So I went to go play IDARB. Went to play against a kid. I know it was one of the Canadian champions. I believe it was from the Maritimes. And he's literally like 7 or 8, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this kid. I'm not letting him win this time. And then little bit by little bit towards the end of it, where he kept bouncing it off edges and getting like lucky shots into the goal, and he ended up getting like, I think it was 92-17. Like, I got wrecked hardcore. And I was kind of thoroughly impressed with how good the kids were, and at the same time was like, okay, next year, and I started asking some of the kids, so next year, you're going to come participate, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm probably going to come down. And I'm like, okay, Tori's Angels, check.
Yeah, and that's
I'm pulling myself out of the tournament.
Yeah, somebody tweeted at one point, like, all I gotta say is we're all extremely lucky that none of these kids were competing against us. So, you know, if there's any way to, like, wrap this up, I love the fact that we kind of ended it with open play with the kids because, one, those kids blew us away. And then two, like, I love the fact that, you know, they're kids and they got to be kids.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, like, even for me, like I said, you know, I was kind of hanging around and I looked over and I saw my son playing, you know, Just Dance with a couple of kids. And I look over and there's, you know, people around the board games. And I mean, I just had this moment where I was like, God, this is all kinds of awesome. And this may be the cough medicine talking, but, you know, I can just see this coming back and doing this every year. Like, we will figure out a way where we can get back every single year so we can do this again and again and again. And I don't know if it'll be possible every year, but I've talked to my family. My son has come home and his two best friends who have been friends with him since 5th grade, and they do Extra Life every year. They're like, so if we all just get one hotel room, it's just, you know, the registration fee. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, if you guys want to drive next year, we can do that. But so we've already talked about it. And I love the fact that I'm already, you know, it's like a little Extra Life cult with my family. Like, I'm roping them in little by little.
Yeah.
So I really hope Extra Life United continues each year as part of Momentum, and I'm going to encourage, again, everybody that I can when they announce the next dates, which I assume will come in the fall. You know, it normally comes early fall so people can plan, because they know you got to plan, and then we have game day and there will be reminders. I'm going to continue to encourage everyone.
The hospital reps, because as it was for myself, I didn't go to Extra Life United last year, so I didn't get the little hints for everyone who went last year. But literally the hospital rep in, I think it was March or April of last year, started saying, hey, book February off. Book February off. Hey, there's a change. February is going to be the date. Get on it. I'm like, okay, I'll book February.
Okay. So we've been talking for like a little over an hour now.
And we could go on.
We could really go on.
We could keep going for the next 6 hours till our voices are hoarse.
Okay. So, one major, like, biggest takeaway from Extra Life United, go Graeme.
I'd have to say it's that camaraderie piece again. Because to me, it was not just with the other Extra Lifers. When we showed up on the Tuesday, it was the Extra Lifers. We instantly bonded with the 200 other Extra Lifers that were there. As Tanya said, we're all on the same page. We're all there for the same cause. But then as it went on and kept growing and growing, because I know if you kept your eyes on around the outside of the gaming area, we had like reps from different hospitals, like Walmart USA and Walmart Canada people, Air Canada Delta reps, Dairy Queen reps, Microsoft guys who literally hung around inside the Extra Life area and had 2 people there every day for like 10 hours. And then on Thursday, it was the kids and their families, and realizing that for the kids and their families who do play video games, that it's the same level of camaraderie we feel for each other as Extra Lifers, that now these kids, that next year they may not be the champion children, but they're still going to give back. Because I swear to you, we recruited 95 of those kids and signed them up on the spot for Extra Life. And it's just knowing that with these kids, that we let them know that, hey, there's a thing you can do where you can be a kid and you can just play video games or play tabletop or play card games or whatever. Like, what I'm starting to push now is playground games and sports up here in Canada, because hockey. It's just that camaraderie it feels with all of them. I think I've got like all the Canadian champion children and a bunch of the U.S. champion children added me on Facebook out of the blue.
Yeah.
And the final takeaway for me is that level of camaraderie. It feels like everyone who went now has a new appreciation, knowledge, respect for Extra Life itself, and it's I think as everyone's been putting it these past couple of days and weeks, is that we're basically one giant dysfunctional family, for better or for worse now. That particularly for those of us who went to Extra Life United, we're just one giant family, and whether we like it or not, just like your real family. You can't get rid of us. We're
Yeah.
So that's my biggest takeaway from Extra Life United. It would be the camaraderie and the family aspect of it now.
What about you, Tanya?
I mean, for me, it's completely selfish. It's knowing that this is why, this is why I spend this amount of time. I'm a person who can totally get way deep into the details and just completely head down and be like, oh wait, how many days have passed? I haven't been out of my house. And it's easy for me to do that, and it's easy for me to get burnt out. And then my initial reaction is just to say, I need to step away completely from that thing. Yeah. But United, both times, no questions asked. And it was almost weird. Like the first time, after enough time has passed, I'm like, did it really affect me that much? Am I sugarcoating this? Am I putting on the rose-colored glasses? And hindsight is 2020. And I can say after, Extra Life United 2016, absolutely not. It's one of those things that every single thing that people tell you about that you think, no way, it can't be true. It's not that great. You're just like making stuff up. Nobody likes being around sick kids. That's just sad and depressing. Why do I want to go do this? I'm just going to get, it really is true. It really is the infomercial, and you actually are getting the product that you think you're getting. Yeah. So for me, it's just kind of reconfirming that this is completely worth every single second of time that I can put towards it. And it is worth planning family vacations around it. And, in the end, it's like also the thing that as little as I'm doing, I am helping. And my, the whole mantra for my whole life, if I want to boil it down into to anything, is three things. It's, show up, own your stuff, own your shit, and then be helpful. And Extra Life United kind of touches on every single one of those. And like I said earlier, what I think I'm putting all into it, the return on investment that I'm getting from these kids and from these families and from my hospital, I feel like I'm a bank robber. I'm just making out. So that's what it is for me. I mean, all of those things. And I feel like by me getting that much out of it, I'm hopefully encouraging others to come in, participate in Extra Life as well, and help their local hospitals. So that's my takeaway. Yes, it's a cult. It's a fun one. Join it. Trust me, you're really, really gonna like it.
I think for me, it was just like, I think experiencing that level of joy, like just sheer unbridled happiness in the spite of horrible everything, basically. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like, I think that the thing that actually personifies it the best is when our Texas champion got up on stage to get her medal. Like, she just liked the song and started fucking dancing, like, and was having a blast and had a great time. And everybody else got up and started dancing. Like, that little girl, like, just had 300-400 people dancing for no damn reason other than she was happy. And like, I don't think I ever thought that amount of people, I don't think I thought there was that amount of happiness in one place. Like, and I mean, you hear Disney is the happiest place in the world. It's not. It's the fucking Momentum conference room right at the end of the damn convention, and those kids are getting medals and they're happy and they're exuding so much happiness it fills the rest of the room. So yeah, that's my takeaway. I experienced joy for the first time. My cynical, cold, old heart experienced joy for the first time.
And the stories do say Matt's cold, damp heart grew by 6 size.
I literally thought that. I did. I swear to God, I thought exactly that thing.
I'm a mean machine man, just cranking it out.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you guys again. Thank you, Graeme and Tanya, for joining me on the podcast. This is our return to podcasting. My wife didn't join me this time. We thought it might be a little crowded. But yeah, thank you guys so much for talking about your experience. Thank you guys for joining me on the podcast and returning for our first episode of what I'm going to call season 2. Hopefully next episode I can manage to get Sean and Trish on. They expressed some interest in joining me, so hopefully that will be a thing in the next couple weeks. I guess we'll see what their schedules look like. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me.
Dominic Strong, thumbs up for the kids.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Bye.